We mentioned this the other day, but it's stunning to hear them roll this out.
Oh, this is all right-wingers, yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yes.
This is how they're taking the Eric Garner death.
Yes.
The killing, the murder of Eric Garner.
Yes. Here's Rush Limbaugh now talking about the real outrage, what people should really be outraged about when they see that video of Eric Garner's death.
Let's talk about the Eric Garner case, which a lot of people think is different. In fact, at the beginning, you said that you were troubled by what happened in the Eric Garner case, the heavy-set black man who was taken down in Staten Island.
Pause it.
But you now say that...
Let's remind everybody, this is a heavy-set black man. So he is heavy-set.
That he was not choked. It was not a choke hold. And I guess the question I have, and I ask this with all due respect, we're friends. What are you talking about that it's not a chokehold?
I'm listening to experts in the police departments around the country that I know tell me it's not a chokehold. I'm listening to certain things I've read in the media, quoting police officials and those who train police saying that this was not a chokehold. It might have been carotid restriction, but it was not a chokehold. But Chris, none of this, this all misses the point. What was every...
Now, the reason why it all misses the point is because we know that all of the sources that have supposedly told Rush Limbaugh that it's not a chokehold are full of it. We know the medical examiner said this was a homicide by police.
But the police are telling me that
the police are telling me something different, of course. But that's not the point. This is what is really the point.
Garner doing? He was selling cigarettes, loose cigarettes. And the police in New York, because they're so eager for tax collection, what is being done here with regard to taxes and the state's desire to collect them no matter what, how many cops were descended on that situation? For cigarettes, how many people smoking marijuana did the cops pass by and ignore on the way to Eric Garner? You've got $13 a carton, $13 a pack in New York City. Over $6 of that is taxes. And the authorities are telling the cops, you go out and you stop that because they're so intent on collecting tax revenue. I think the real outrage here is that an American died while the state is enforcing tax collection on cigarettes. This is just absurd. And people talk about the left. They want a big state. They want a powerful state. Well, here it is. You've got to take all of it. If you want a powerful state, there's your police force acting on demands of the authorities to go out and make sure that every dime of tax is collected, particularly from tobacco. Look how we stigmatize tobacco.
Let me,
to the point now that it's so despised and reviled that a guy loses his life selling single cigarettes in New York City. It's absurd.
Now, one has to wonder what is going through Chris Wallace's mind now, because he's got to be saying to himself, just how will I be able to look myself in the mirror unless I say something like, that's a utterly ridiculous theory. The idea that Mayor de Blasio is sitting in a room with cops saying, like, we need to send 4 or 5 cops out there to crack down and get these cigarette taxes. There's not an adult. There's not an adult who would listen to that and actually believe that's the way a city works. And so poor Chris Wallace, and by adult, I really mean someone who really is just sort of a thoughtful person. Because I understand there's a huge audience, obviously, that believes, that could walk away and look at that video and say, this is really about these cops going after this guy because of the loosies. Now, fortunately for Rush Limbaugh's theory, there's no white people who ever sell loosies, which is why no white people are attacked when they are unarmed by cops, by multiple cops. I mean, it is stunning. It's stunning because I know there must be some people out there who actually believe it because they keep repeating this over and over again, that this is really about cigarette tax. And I like how he throws in, they just walk by the marijuana. because they're not taxing it yet, of course. That's why. The cops probably passed a half a dozen guys smoking pot, but they needed to get that $6 a pack from this guy who clearly was costing the city millions of dollars in revenue. I mean, you could just see Eric Garner sitting there as he heads back to his 23,000 square foot home on Long Island from all the revenue he has made, depriving the city of cigarette taxes. Unbelievable. I mean, you got to feel bad for Chris Wallace.
I mean, I don't think Rush Limbaugh meant it in this way, but it is absurd.
Yeah,
it is
of
absurd.
course. Of course his theory is absurd. Of course it is. But I mean, it's impressive, I guess, that he can sit there and say this stuff and not be, and not like giggle as he's saying it. That I find to be somewhat impressive.
I mean, the real situation with the whole right-wing narrative that he died over a cigarette tax is basically they want to play themselves the victim here. It could happen to ostensibly happen to them is what
the reason.
They're saying.
We talked about this. The reason why you hear this from guys like Rand Paul is they have to say something. They have to say something. And this is the best they can do. Honestly. This is basically it. I'm going to go on. I'm going to talk about this. I've got to have some theory that fits into our notion that the government is oppressing all of us, that this is not about the fact that Eric Garner was black. This is not about the fact that we have statistics after statistics after statistics that show that blacks are treated differently from whites. Well, when it comes to just about anything in our society, but specifically in this case, in terms of their relations with police. We cannot make it about that. And so we go to taxes because that's where we go to. That's what they say.